Good morning and welcome to Business Lens on Rapid Television Abuja. It is great to have you with us on this edition. Yes, well, it's always a pleasure to have you here, right? So let's begin with the key business trends that matter right now, starting from the headlines. Nigeria's oil sector has lost an estimated 1.76 trillion naira in potential revenue after crude production fell short of the 1.5 million barrels per day OPEC quota for 9 months in 2025 and again in January 2026, highlighting the growing economic costs of persistent output shortfalls despite relatively strong global oil prices. Let's go to the next story, where the federal government has stepped up efforts to tighten accountability in the oil sector with the inauguration of Nigeria's first gravimetric multifaceted flow metering calibration facility in Eket in Akwa Ibom State, which is a move that is aimed at improving crude measurement accuracy, curbing revenue leakages, and strengthening transparency across the upstream industry. On to the next story, where President Bola Tinubu has signed Executive Order 9 of 2026 mandating that all royalty oil, tax oil, profit oil, and profit gas proceeds be paid directly into the federal account, eliminating the 30% management fee and the 30% frontier exploration deductions in a sweeping move to strengthen oil revenue transparency and fiscal accountability. To the next story, where the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria has announced the complete cessation of cash transactions nationwide effective February 29, 2026, as the agency moves to comply with the federal government's cashless policy following Federal Executive Council approval to transition all government operations to a fully digital payment system. We move to the next story that says the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board has renewed its directive mandating a 1% deduction on all qualifying upstream oil and gas contracts for the Nigerian Content Development Fund, warning operators and service providers that non-compliance could jeopardize their access to critical regulatory approvals and certifications. And away from that story, we move to the next. The Bank of Namibia has held its benchmark interest rate steady at 6.50% at its first monetary policy meeting of 2026, maintaining a cautious stance as policymakers balance moderating inflation against regional risks and external monetary signals, particularly from South Africa. Also, Afrexim's bank's chief economist, Dr. Yemi Kale, says Nigeria's ongoing bank recapitalization drive is critical to closing Africa's estimated $80 to $120 billion annual trade finance gap, stressing that stronger bank capital is essential for supporting industrialization, deepening intra-African trade, and advancing Nigeria's ambition of becoming a $1 trillion economy. And from that, we move to the markets, where the Nigerian equities market closed low on Tuesday, with all share index slipping 0.47% to 189,362.94 points, and market capitalization dropping to 121.55 trillion naira, as heavy profit taking in banking stocks to include Zenith Bank down 10% and UBA shedding 6.56% outweighed gains in consumer goods despite stronger trading volumes. I am Divine Alex. We'll look at these stories and more after the break. Stay with us. You're welcome back. I am Divine Alex, and you are still on the Business Lens on Rapid Television Abuja. And joining me on today's conversation is economist Abiola Adekunle from Keto Markets. Trade up, right? Good morning. Welcome to the show. Well.
It's good to be here.
Thank you so much for being here. So let's dig into the headline stories proper. Let's begin with Nigeria's oil production performance and what it means for government revenue. So between January 2025 and January 2026, Nigeria failed to consistently meet its 1.5 million barrels per day OPEC quota, missing the target in 9 months and leading to an estimated 1.76 trillion naira in lost potential crude oil revenue despite relatively strong global oil prices during the period. Now, we've talked about OPEC we even talked about it on Monday.
They are our star boy.
So now, if Nigeria exceeded quota only 3 times, right, but missed it 9 times, what structural constraints, security, infrastructure, underinvestment, do you think are limiting output despite reforms in upstream sector?
Well, they are not giving us the details as it should be. So we don't want to just make guesses.
Yes.
At the end of the day, the bottom line is that we did not meet up 9 times, and we met up 3 times out of 12. 3 over 12 is like a quarter, which is 25%. 25%, like you said, is not pass mark in any school, even in Nigeria. So the question remains, why? Are we saying we don't need money? We do need money. Are we saying we're going to have more revenue from other sectors? No, we largely still depend on oil. So for me, I don't want to go into the technical details. What I'm going to be going after is the fact that it is possible. Why do I know it is possible? Because 3 times we have actually exceeded it. So it's not something that is not possible. It's possible. So now we need to, the president obviously cannot do everything. In fact, are you saying presidents go and see their money? No, there are people in charge of this, and I think that these people have to be called to the presidency. Okay, what's going on?
What's going on?
Why are we having this? For whatever reason, this should not occur, because 1.7 trillion is a whole lot of money, a whole lot. See, if we go back 10, 12 years ago, I don't think our budget was up to that amount. So now you are like losing a whole budget, a whole year budget of the most populous black country on earth. I don't think it's meant to go without consequences. I think people should be called and ask questions. And a way should be found to prevent this, because the revenue we are losing here equals to the loan and the interest we are going to be picking from somewhere else.
Okay, now let's look at what this means for an ordinary Nigerian. What does this mean for an ordinary Nigerian? The fact that, we only are able to do 25% out of 100%, and then, we are losing 1.76 trillion naira because of this whole situation.
In layman terms, I'm just going to talk about 2 things. Number one, when a nation loses revenue, and goes to get that revenue in a more expensive way, what it means is that the funds that are going to be available for any form of social programs or infrastructure is going to be reduced. For those that benefit, for example, from direct cash transfer, for example, it might be affected, might not be affected. But what it means is that the country we live in, has reduced revenue that could have been gotten. And at the end of the day, to affect our budget, which will trickle down to some sectors and can affect us by making sure that we, at the end of the day, might spend more money as individuals. But it might not be very noticeable, but it is there. That's one. Number 2 is that if you cannot demonstrate capacity, more work will not be given to you. There's an adage that says that the reward of work is more work. So the reward of us meeting our quota time after time is more quota. So apart from the fact that we are not getting the full extent of our quota, it also means that there might be no approval. There might be, I'm just saying, no approval for more quota, because we have not demonstrated.
But there's already a conversation on the request for an increase.
But there was nothing.
Yes, but the conversation is already flying, which means that it is something that could be considered any moment from now. Or do you think that because you said we've already
things are not considered on sentiments. Things are considered based on facts and figures. You cannot be considered to be a driver because somebody likes you. No, you're considered to be a driver if you can drive. So if you cannot demonstrate capacity to drive, who is going to entrust their lives into your hands? Like someone will say, people who talk about all manner of sentiment. It's okay, when you go to the hospital, use sentiment. Say, I want my tribe man to be the one to be the doctor that will take care of me, even though he's not the most qualified doctor. When we go there, we don't talk about sentiment. We say, please, this man is 30 years, please give him. This is his track record, please, or you want to fly. Then they tell you that this pilot, this is the first time, we are not sure yet. But he's a Nigerian. And you now see a Westerner That's a white man that has 25 years experience. I said, no, I want a Nigerian. How many people will say that? so I also think that is the way that decisions should be made. Even though I know lobbying and other things can come in, I'm in Nigeria. I want the best. I want us to have increased quota. I'm just looking at it objectively. That if we have 25% success rate, would we be entrusted with more? I don't know. I pray that they entrust us with more quota, but if you're looking at the pure facts, I don't know.
Okay. Now, from production shortfalls to accountability reforms in the oil sector, the federal government has commissioned Nigeria's first gravimetric multifaceted flow metering calibration facility in Eket, which is aimed at improving measurement accuracy, curbing crude oil revenue leakages, and strengthening transparency in upstream operations, addressing decades of metering uncertainties. What do you make of this? Do you think this is a good move, especially as the fact that we are looking at us and then our shortfalls, and then we still have places that are leaking, and now there's this new development?
It's still the same thing we're saying. If something is important to you, you monitor it 100%. You make sure you squeeze the best out of it. There was a time I wanted to pick a loan in Diamond Bank. There's no more Diamond Bank now. And they told me this is the extent to which you can take. I think that was 500,000 then. Of course, I told them, give me my extent, because I had what I wanted to use it for. Now, when you have an extent you can go, it will not be wise, okay, to not make use of everything, especially when it is advantageous to you. There is no way somebody wants to give you, Divine, 1 million naira. Say, Divine, you can get 1 million naira from me. You know, so okay, just give me 5K. I want to give you that 5K, nothing again. Haba. then you are not even in Nigeria. Let's not even go into the fact that maybe you are Igbo or anything. Okay. So I think that a whole lot of attention should be given much more to this sector, so that we cannot be. I don't even think we should be having such headlines anymore. There are some headlines we should not be having. Like we should everybody know that this thing will give us money. So why are we wasting time on areas that will not give us money? Come on.
So for decades now, right, Nigeria relied on overseas calibration systems. How much revenue do you think we've been able to lose due to this inaccurate measurements?
Are you saying that foreign measurements are inaccurate?
Not really.
Well, because if there are, I don't think there's any proven data that it is inaccurate because it is foreign. If it is inaccurate, it might be due to a whole lot of things. Okay. You know, for example, I'm an engineer, and we know that there is error due to so many things. Even in secondary school, they tell you error due to parallax, error due to friction, wearing, and all those things. So it is possible that there's some level of errors. So how do you guard against it? Without being very specific, one of the things that corrects all this is turnaround maintenance from time to time. Okay, you cannot use the same thing, okay, over decades and expect it to be at the same level of accuracy as at when you installed it. It's just normal. So I think that the frequency of change should be determined by the level of error that is experienced over time. They are engineers. We have best like very good minds. They are there, so they know what to do. So I think that if at all we are having leakages and losses due to some of these things, it might not be the reason for which we think it is actually.
So do you think this improved metering accuracy significantly reduces the discrepancies between the reported production and actual lifting figures?
Yes, it will reduce it because at the end of the day, now we have something that is like harmonized, that everybody can agree on. Okay. And if something is being measured, everybody takes from that same measurement. I don't think there's another measurement coming from somewhere. So the measurement is meant to be what it is. So I feel that yes, it would be.
Okay. So now let's turn to fiscal transparency beyond oil, and this time in aviation. The Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria, FAN, has announced the complete cessation of cash transactions effective February 29, 2026, which aligns with the federal government directive for agencies to transition fully to digital payments to improve revenue tracking and accountability. Now, I think there was a situation that I somehow found myself, I'm trying, okay, for lack of better words, let me just ask this, and then I put it together and then throw it, because when I saw this, the first thing that came to my mind was, what if in a situation where you want to make any transaction at the airport, maybe it has to be, even if it's not only fan, and then you only have cash, maybe your phone is dead, or you're not able to access to be able to make digital payments, and then you have cash. So in such situations, what do we do? I thought the whole initial conversation around cash was to be able to get everybody, if you're not able to do digital payment, you have cash you can pay. So that means everybody has the same. But now with this new development, don't you think it's going to, like, get to people more, or is there something else inside it that we should really look at?
Well, first thing, I think what you're describing is the exception, not the rule. It's not the general.
Yeah, it is not.
Yeah, of course, people always accommodate exceptions because they know that there are exceptions. There are times where people have been stranded and all they have is cash. Even in a stricter digital environment, they'll say, okay, no problem, we'll arrange this for you for now, then later on please always use the digital medium. Now for the airport, I feel that for them to come to this, apart from trying to support digital economy and all that, because my question is, where have you guys been since they started digital economy? Is it now?
No.
So I think that there must have been things that accelerated the decision. Maybe shortfall of revenue, or maybe there are a lot of loopholes and leakages. We all go to the airports. When you want to go, you go and pay at the booth, and they mark your ticket that based on how long you have stayed in the parking area. I'm just giving an example. There's so many things you can pay for at the airport. So this alone can create some form of loophole, because there is somebody that is collecting that cash, and we don't know how it's going to go. But the issue is, in as much as they are trying to digitize that old space to increase most likely revenue and block loopholes, the issue for me is a lot of these things are petty cash, right? We're talking about between 200 and 1,000, 2,000. And I don't know how they want to do it. For example, if you're entering into the airport, you have to pay. I don't know if that's under their custody.
Yes.
You have to pay at that point. How do people pay digitally at that point? Because if everybody is trying to do a transfer, use ATM or POS or whatever, the queue is going to be crazy. Because the fastest has always been
the cash.
You pay your cash and go. Except you now have an airport card, or people can debit your NIN or something that is extremely fast. If it goes beyond 15 seconds, it is slow. So while they can deploy this in other areas, like maybe they clamp your tire, you have some things you want to pay for inside the airport, I think it's fine to actually reduce. And our digital payment system is actually very fast. In the world, it is very fast. But there are some areas in the airport that I feel that this might not be the best solution yet.
Yes. Okay. So how much do you think internally generated revenue could be better tracked once FAN eliminates physical cash collections?
Well, digital is always more accountability, meaning that almost everything can be tracked and seen at face value. But we're also in a country where, as far as human beings are involved, there's a lot of things that can happen. I don't want to give people ideas, but there are so many ways people can circumvent the system. But with this, I feel that at least they will have a jump. If they're losing 10% before of revenue, you should be able to close up like 6 or 7, shrink it to 3.
Okay, so let's go back to the oil sector compliance, but this time focusing on local content financing. The Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board has renewed its directive mandating a 1% deduction from qualifying upstream contracts for the Nigerian Content Development Fund, warning that non-compliance could restrict access to regulatory approvals. I don't know. Do you think this, especially given the scale of upstream oil contracts, right? How much do you think this 1% levy is going to generate annually for the NCDMB?
1% is a whole lot. When I was reading the article, I was like, 1% is a whole lot. But I'm sure that those that created the mandate at the end of the day, those that were able to say, okay, we have looked at the whole scenario, we feel that 1% is, is right for whatever I want to do.
Okay.
Such people, I feel that at the end of the day should stand on their mandate. But much more than standing on their mandate, we also need to see the output on the other end. Like, for example, there was a time 50 naira was introduced for transfer, and they said, something, was it education and security or cyber something? And at the end of the day, we've not really been able to get a whole lot of feedback from what have these monies been used for. And I think there was one that had to do with student stuff also. So if you're standing on your mandate, that 1%, which is a whole lot of money, for example, if 100 billion naira contract goes out, you are getting 1 billion. So if you stand on your mandate and this money keeps coming to you, we also need a high level of reports, okay, from the other side, showing that these are the things we have used the money for. Those are publicly assessed or accessible reports, because it's not enough to collect money. You also have to be accountable. But yes, if it is based on what is their mandate in the Constitution, they should go for it. Now, if it's me, I also go for it.
You said 1% is a whole lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
So do you think,
because of the sector we are talking about?
So do you think that if they are able to get this money, that we could actually see these things? Like you already said, is about using this funds.
Yes, let's see them using it. Now, the way this report is structured, the tone I'm getting is as if they've been collecting it before. Then there was a stop.
Okay.
Then now they are saying, please let's continue this stuff. That's the tone. I'm not certain, but that's what I'm getting from this particular thing. So let them show capacity. See, once you can demonstrate capacity, even the people who fight for you, that see what these people have done with ordinary 10 billion that we are giving them. Ordinary, I don't have 1 million. But if you now give them more, then that means that they can do more. Yeah. So yeah, let them go all the way. As far as it's meant to be there. Then also, they could also ask questions. All the times you have not been paying this, where has the funds been going to? You understand?
Yes. So now let's go to a major development in Nigeria's oil revenue structure, one that could significantly reshape how funds flow into the federation account. That is the President, Bola Tinubu, that signed and gazetted Executive Order 9 of 2026, directing that all government entitlements from oil and gas production, including royalty oil, the tax oil, the profit oil, and profit gas, be paid directly into the federation account. This order eliminates previously the 30% management and the 30% frontier exploration deductions. Now, if royalty oil, profit oil, tax oil now flow directly into the federation account without layered deductions, how much incremental revenue do you think federal, states, local governments can potentially gain annually?
This is sounding like all these PhD questions. Because if you're going to be asking specifics, then we have to start looking at numbers.
Yes.
But if I'm just to go and speak broadly, I'll say of course there will be increase in disbursement of FAC, local government, state government, federal. There will be increase in how much is shared. But much more than that, the places you're removing these deductions from, the government initially directed deductions there. Yes. For what reasons? Now, if you now stop those deductions, what's going to happen over there? For example, if you say, okay, this so percent deduction is funding northern development, something, and let's say they're in between some projects that are already at 60%, 40%. Now you're halting it and you're redirecting it. What is going to happen to those projects? That's number one. Number two, increase in disbursement and FAC is good. At the end of the day, we want to see Nigeria grow. We want to see Nigeria progress. We want to see Nigeria have more infrastructures. But the question remains that where is the data for the development that has the previous facts? I'm talking about decades.
Yes.
Where is it?
I saw his tweet, because he pasted it on his handle on X, and he said, "Oh, we are going to return to Nigerians what rightfully belongs to them."
The president.
Yes.
Okay.
In the what's it called, statement that he dropped to explain why he's doing all of these things. He said this belongs to Nigerians, so let's send it back to them.
Which is
now,
fantastic.
which means that maybe this money has not been put into something according to him.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Okay.
And now he's trying to like redirect it back to us. Now we might not know a particular figure that, oh, this is 1 billion, or this is 1 trillion, or this is 1,000 naira that is being used for all of this plenty things. But then it is 30% management, 30% frontier, which means it's going to be big. So when we're able to pull this more, do you think that this could materially reduce borrowing needs? Especially as the fact that right now we have 20 trillion deficits in our budget for 2026.
It naturally might reduce, you know, when you look at it on paper technically.
Okay.
Theoretically, I mean, it should reduce. But Nigeria is not a place where theory equals to practical most of the time.
You're right.
Yeah, there have been different, you know, people that have come out to say that in time past, whenever FAC is disbursed, there is a pressure on the Naira, and we do have a stronger USD locally, implying that a lot of people convert these funds and store it in foreign currencies, which is not meant to be so. So when you push water into a bowl that has some holes in it and it's leaking water, now the question is, if you introduce more water, does that mean that that bowl will get full? Does that mean we'll need a bigger bowl? The answer most of the time is no. Because if you don't block those leakages, if you don't redirect where the water is being, you know, off, at the end of the day, you might not still get the desired results. Now you're removing it from one place, which based on maybe non-performance, perfect. Let's move it to somewhere else that can be of more use. And like His Excellency said, it belongs to Nigerians. So now Nigerians have to now rise up and hold their leaders accountable and say, okay, for so-so local government, so-so councillor, so-so governor, we can see that there has been an increase in disbursement. Please, can we attend to this education issue in the state? Please, can we attend to this health issue in the state? Because if we don't push in this direction, based on previous data, that money at the end of the day might not make any significant change in impact. So
do you think that this is going to reshape NNPC's limited cash flow model and its operations strictly as a commercial entity under the Petroleum Industry Act, because they are somehow at the center now? With the removal of 30% management fee, yes, the 30% frontier exploration deduction, how will this reshape NNPC's limited cash flow model and its operations strictly as their commercial entity under the Petroleum Industry Act?
The money, they don't touch their money now. What I mean is, if you're talking about the general welfare of the staff, of running of the NNPC Limited, these funds are not meant for that in the first place. So if somebody says they are reducing my allowance, but they are not touching my feeding, they are not touching my airtime money, then nothing should stop me from buying airtime and feeding. I think it's as simple as that. So NNPC should be able to function as normal, except you're implying something else.
Okay. Now, let's go on this quick break. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation. Do not go anywhere. You're welcome back. This is still the Business Lens of Rapid Television, Abuja. My name is Divine Alex. Let's shift to the banking sector reforms and Africa's industrial ambitions. Afrexim's bank's Chief Economist Dr. Yemi Kali says Nigerians' bank recapitalization drive is essential to closing Africa's $80 to $120 billion annual trade finance gap, arguing that stronger capital buffers are critical for industrialization and deeper intra-African trade. Now, that brings me to you, Economist Abiola. If banks, right, lacks capital depth, how constrained is the ability to finance machinery imports, manufacturing expansion, and export-led growth?
For me, it's not about the constraints.
Okay.
I think it's about where the heart of the bank is. From what we discussed before, I explained that majority, or let me say some of Nigerian banks are I don't think they are really in that direction when it comes to pushing out funds. They've never really been pro agriculture, pro manufacturing, and all that. From what I've seen so far, the direction has been more towards big men, maybe in government, maybe private. It has been more of a social order, like how big is this person, instead of how big and what is the potential of this business. Let me give you an acid test. If you invent something, walk into any bank, you have your invention with you, and sit down with whosoever, the business development, branch manager, whatever. There's a potential that you'll be turned down 9 times out of 10 times to even look at it and see the possibility of it working, because that is not their focus. So I don't think that one affects the other in this particular news. The bank really would really want to go into manufacturing for them to say, or supporting manufacturing rather, for them to say, oh, this constraint is affecting us. But for something they don't even want to do to start with, so I don't think that really matters. That's my take. Anyway.
That's your take. Okay, so could this recapitalization significantly expand credit to SMEs and exporters to help Nigeria transition from raw exports to maybe value-added production?
It's still the same thing, except there is this accessibility that is really pushed for SMEs. A bank having more money does not equally translate immediately to SMEs actually having more access to funds. Yeah, because the rules are still the rules. Now you see why a whole lot of Nigerians will go to loan sharks, online loans, microfinance with cutthroat loan rates.
Interest,
interest rate. It's because of lack of accessibility. Because why would I leave a commercial bank that would give me a loan for, let's say, max 30-something% for a whole year, and go and meet a microfinance that will charge me up to 150% in a whole year, which doesn't make any sense, because what level of business do you want to do for you to be able to make enough money to pay the interest, pay your staff, pay your rent, and also make some money for yourself? So at the end of the day, banks having more money, more capitalization, more whatever, does not directly translate to SMEs actually having access to those funds.
Okay, so is there a way that we could get the banks to actually, because at the end of the day, the SMEs are really important to us.
Extremely important.
And then likewise the banks.
Yes.
So how do we now get these two to actually, yes, so that we could have more productive...
We'll go to registry, so guess on to marry. For the banks,
yes.
Talking from the point of view of the bank, I think these are some of the things they fear.
Okay.
Bad loans, which they have anyway, in bigger quantity. They don't want to have bad loans. Proper documentation and tracking. When banks give loan, to some extent, they want that loan to be collateralized. If the loan is not going to be collateralized, I think the value is going to be reduced. Now, even if the value is reduced, if they cannot be able to hold the customer when they need to hold the customer, it becomes a problem. For example, they give somebody 4 million naira and the person suddenly stops paying. How do you track this person? So banks, I think, working with CBN have to be the one to now say, okay, this is the way we'll go. There is something called GIS that you can use to track somebody's financial movement all around the country, and you can actually use it to put what they call, say, like a global standing, so that if this person is owing and you've proven beyond reasonable doubt that this person doesn't want to pay, they can initiate that thing and deduct money from anywhere. But also, I know that they also still will have issues with this, because people have so many ways of circumventing the system. So at the end of the day, banks are afraid of losing their funds. They're afraid of bad loans, and at the end of the day, they're afraid of people that would not have proper documentation. That's on their side. Now, on the side of the SMEs. They are not moving as fast as they can because they don't get loans that are very cheap. And if you say the government should step in, Bank of Industry, Bank of Agric, I've gone through Bank of Industry before. I've tried. It's a whole lot. That at the point in time when they start giving you, at least then when I apply, start giving some of the conditions, you will now ask yourself that if I have this condition, I don't need this loan. For example, if they say, okay, go and bring 2 guarantors that have X million in their bank account, of, if I have those people, I don't need to come here. I should be able to go and meet them and cry on them and say, please give me so money, let me do my business. So from the SME side, they need loans that actually are reduced, have reduced interest rate, which usually can be gotten from the commercial banks. And we need to find a way to adapt it to there needs to be an adapter in the middle, because if it works, then the country has worked.
Okay, that is how we are going to, wrap up today's Business Lens. Thank you so much, Economist Abiola, for being on the show today. We would have gone deeper into talking about the stock market, but then maybe let's leave it for Monday, where we just have enough time to discuss that. Thank you so much for being a part of the show today. Keep the date again with us on Monday, 11 a.m. And don't forget to stay with Rapid TV. My name is Divine Alex. Bye for now.